Powers, duties and liabilities of directors. This is the last topic regarding the directors part, as we already done with the directors meaning, their position. So the next topic is their powers, their duties and liabilities. First we have to discuss about the duties, and these are divided under two groups, that is general duties of a director and the special duties of a director. So section 166 contains the general duties of the directors, and it is having 7 subsections. Now we are going to discuss about that. So according to section 166, so this section provides the general duties of the director. So coming to the first subsection, to act in accordance with articles, that is according to section 166 subsection 1. So acting in accordance with articles is nothing but whatever mentioned in the articles of association, what are the internal affairs and what are the rules mentioned, regulations mentioned, in accordance to that only the director should act. That is the meaning of the accordance with articles. So based on the articles the director has to follow. Next is to act in good faith to promote objects of the company. CO is nothing but company here. I am using some short forms and I am also explaining about that. Kindly make a note of it. So CO is nothing but the company. So to act in good faith to promote object of the company. Now coming to the meaning of the good faith. Good faith is nothing but honesty and sincerity of intention. So if you are doing any work means you should have the good faith in that, which means you should be honest and you should be sincere while doing that responsibility or while performing the obligation. So here also same, the director should act in good faith. He should have the honesty and sincerity of intention while acting as a director. Why he should have the good faith? To promote the objects of the company. So as you know, we are having the objects of the company and it is mentioned in the object clause of the memorandum of association, right? So based on that, the object has to be promoted in a good faith. That is a duty of the director. Next is to perform duties with due and reasonable care. With due is nothing but here due diligence. Due diligence. Okay. So due diligence is nothing but taking care. Due diligence is nothing but taking care or steps regarding to avoid committing of an offence, which means the director should be very care about what he is doing. Is he performing any offence or is he performing in a good way or correct way? So that has to be checked. Checking about that is nothing but the due diligence and reasonable care. Whatever he is performing, whatever he is doing, he should have a reasonable care. That is the third duty performed by the director. And the fourth is according to subsection 4 of section 166, not to act in conflict of interest with the company. First you have to understand the meaning of the conflict and conflict of interest. Conflict is nothing but creating an issue, some disturbance with others. So not to act in creating disturbance with the company. Okay, so he should act. That is nothing but a director shall avoid the conflict of interest. He should avoid that such type of issues. He shouldn't be involved in any situation in which he may have a direct or indirect interest with the company. Okay, he should not get into that. That is nothing but not to act. See, it is mentioned as a not. Previous it is a to act. It is positive way it is showing and negative way, which means he cannot do that. It is not his duty. Next is not to achieve any undue gain. What do you mean by gain here? Gain is nothing but some advantage you are getting, some privilege you are getting. Now what do you mean by undue gain? Undue gain is nothing but you are getting some unwanted benefits or improper benefits, that is nothing but undue. So as a position of the director got any undue gain, that is unwanted benefit arised based on his actions. So if the director found guilty of making any undue gain, he shall be liable to pay an equal amount to that gain to the company. So whatever he is getting, suppose he is getting benefit in a wrong way, that is undue gain, so he has to pay back the same thing to the company. He is liable to pay an equal amount of that. The next is not to assign office. So not to assign office is nothing but not to transfer the rights. Now understand the word assign here. Who can assign the work? Take an example of principal and agent. P is nothing but principal, A is nothing but the agent. So principal assigns the work to the agent, right? So that is nothing but principal and agent relationship. So here, if the principal is director, he cannot assign the work to others, which means if you don't want to go to bank, you can send your family members or you can send your brother to deposit some amount or to deposit check. But here as a director, director is having lot of obligations and responsibilities, and the director cannot send or cannot assign any work to others on behalf of him. That is the meaning of this subsection, not to assign office. Now whatever the related obligations or the rights of his office or the rights of the director, it cannot be transferred to the another person. If it is transferred also, it becomes void. So cannot transfer. He cannot transfer. So these are the 6 subsections comes under the general duties of the director. Now the last is 7th subsection of section 166 speak about the penal provision. As you know, every provision we are having the penal provision, that is compliance. If they are not following, if they are contravening, what is the compliance they have to do. Okay, now check the punishment part. If a director contravenes any of the above provisions, such director shall be punishable with a fine which shall not be less than 1 lakh but which may extend to 5 lakh. This is according to 160 subsection 7. So by this we are done with the general duties of the director. Now coming to the special duties. Special duties of the director under second head. First is to ensure full and correct disclosure of the prospectus. As you know, what do you mean by disclosure? Disclosing of some information. Okay, so ensure full and correct. What type of disclosure he has to give? It should be full and it should be correct also. It cannot be incorrect information cannot be disclosed. So to ensure full and correct disclosure in prospectus, that is a duty of the director. See, generally prospectus has to be given to invite the public for the shares, right? So in that the full and correct disclosure should be there. That is the meaning of that. And to make declaration in the prospectus. What do you mean by declaration? As you know, the self declaration. If you are attending any interview also, you will declare, right? Self declaration, the information provided by me is true, correct, as per my knowledge. So you will give declaration about your information. But here whatever information regarding the company, the director has to declare. So that's why to make declaration in the prospectus. Okay, so whatever information is there in the prospectus, the director has to declare it is a true and correct information. Next is to sign the prospectus. To sign the prospectus is also the duty of the, also a special duty of the director. Director has to sign on the prospectus. Next is to deliver prospectus to registrar before the issue. So before issuing the prospectus to the public while inviting the shares, it has to be delivered to the registrar first. Registrar should know about the issue of the prospectus and the procedure in the prospectus and the details of the prospectus, not the public first. After registering, after delivering of the register, then only they can issue to the public. Okay, so that is to deliver prospectus to registrar before issue. Before issue only it has to be delivered, and that is the duty of the director. Next is to keep deposited application money in a scheduled bank. Now what do you mean by application money? Based on the prospectus, the interested shareholders, the people who are interested in subscribe the shares, they will apply for the shares, right? So that is called application money. Application of the shares and allotment of the shares, then the issue of the share certificate. You know the procedure to issue the shares, right? So in that, the first part is application money. So that application money has to be deposited in a scheduled bank of the company. So that is a duty of the director to keep the deposited money in the scheduled bank. Next is to deliver share certificate. After receiving application money, after the allotment of the shares, then the share certificate has to be issued to the shareholders, right? Then the share certificate delivery has to be the responsibility of the director. Only the director has to take care whether it is delivering or not. So to deliver share certificate, it is a whole responsible of the director. Next is to sign and file annual return. AR is nothing but annual return. To sign and file the annual return. Annual return is nothing but here, AR is nothing but annual return. So it is nothing but a document which contains the details of the company. Okay, share certificate. What do you mean share certificate? It is a type of a document and certificate, right? Here also annual return is also, it is called as a document. And what it contains is, it contains the details of the company, share capital, directors, shareholders, and the indebtedness of the company. All these are included in the annual return of the company, and it has to be signed by the director. It is a duty, and he has to file the annual return also. Next is to make declaration as to payment of value of the shares. He has to make the declaration as to the payment of the value of the shares. Same, he has to make the declaration in the prospectus, and he has to make the declaration for the payment of the value of the shares also. And the next is to call AGM. AGM is nothing but annual general meeting. He has to call for the annual general meeting of the company. Next special duty is to lay financial statements before annual general meeting. To lay financial statements before annual general meeting is nothing but to give, to report. To lay is nothing but to give, to report the financial statements of the company before annual general meeting. So whenever they are conducting the annual general meeting, it is the responsibility and the duty of the director to provide the financial statements and financial information in the meeting. Okay, next is to recommend dividend and pay. Okay, so it is a director responsibility to recommend about the dividend and pay is nothing but payment for them. Okay, next is to prepare and attach director's report. What do you mean by director's report? Director's report is nothing but intended to explain the shareholders about the overall information or overall financial information of the company, or you can say suppose the company is having subsidiaries. Okay, subsidiaries, whatever the information regarding the subsidiaries or the position of the company, all it has to be given by the director, right? So director is reporting about all these things, and he has to include all the things in such report. Okay, so to prepare and attach the director's report, it is a whole responsibility of the director. Next is to file the FS. FS is nothing but financial statement. That's why I underlined F and S here. Okay, so to file financial statements with the registrar, not only showing, providing financial statements in the AGM, but also file the financial statements with the registrar. It is also a duty of the director. Next is to call board meetings. Calling for the board meetings, as you know, the board will have the meetings with the directors, with the members of the company, shareholders of the company, right? So how they can know there is a meeting? Because it is a duty and responsibility of the director to call them. If director calls them, then only they can know about the meeting time, meeting venue, everything. So it is a duty of the director to call for the board meetings. Next is duty to disclose interest in other companies. Duty to disclose interest in other companies. Disclosing means providing the information. whatever the information regarding the interest in the other companies, that has to be provided, that has to be given. It is a duty of the director. Suppose director is working for the company and he is also having the interest like share interest or any other interest in the other company. So it is his or her duty as a director to disclose such type of interest, such type of information of the other companies in this company. Okay. Next is not to enter into forward dealings in security of the company. Forward dealings here in the sense buying or selling. Forward dealings means dealing in the securities. What do you mean by dealing in the securities? Dealing in trade. What do you mean by trade? Buying and selling. Here also same. So not to enter into forward dealings, not to enter into the buying or selling of the securities, that is nothing but trading of the securities. As a director, he cannot make such type of dealings in the securities of the company. He cannot enter, that is his responsibility, is a duty. Next is not to enter into insider trading. Insider trading is nothing but you can say it is a the trading, right? The trading. Take an example of a small shop or a small you can say small stationery you can take. Okay, what is the purpose of that particular shop? They are selling the goods related to books, or you can say writing, for writing purposes. All these things they are trading, right? Now they are trading to others and they are making some money. But here what happened in the insider trading? Insider trading is nothing but the person is only enjoying the goods related in the stationery or related in the shop. Now what about the position of the particular shop? What about the profit position of the particular shop? If they are selling, then only they can make some money. If they are using for their own purpose, how it can be called as a trading? Insider trading. Insider, the person is only making a use of it. Okay, this is simple example just to understand insider trading. But according to the insider trading of shares, insider trading of the security, it is different. It is a big terminology to understand. It is only given according to the Securities Exchange Board of India. If you are dealing with the securities, then only you can know about it. But company law doesn't emphasize on these topics. Okay, only for general understand that insider trading is an illegal practice of trading on the stock exchange through having some access to confidential information, all these things, some illegal activities it includes. Okay, because it is not a legal way to trade. Just understand this. Next is, so director cannot enter into such type of trading. It becomes illegal. Next is to help investigation of affairs of the company. Okay, if anything needs to be investigated, then the director's duty is to help in the investigation of the affairs. If anything needs to be checked, if anything needs to be examined, okay, so it is director's duty to help them. The last duty is to make a declaration of solvency. What do you mean by solvency? You are having the term called insolvency, right? Insolvency means not having the position to pay his debts. What do you mean by solvency here? Solvency is nothing but the ability to pay debts, or you can say having the excess of assets over liabilities, opposite of the insolvency. So if they are solvent, if their position is solvency, if their ability is to pay the debts, then that has to be declared, that has to be shown. As a director, it is his responsibility to make declaration of the solvency of the company. Now the next is liabilities of the directors. We are going one by one, that is powers, duties and the liabilities. So the next is liabilities of the director. The first is liability to third parties. Liability to third parties means who can be called as a third party? Company, director, they are the parties. So third party is someone from outsider, like the person who is providing credit to the company, bankers, financial institutions, debenture holders, all these are providing the credit. So he is having some responsibility according to the third party. He shall be liable for that. And liability to the company, as a company, see, for the company he can be called as a officer, agent. Okay, we all discussed about this in the previous class. That is what is a position of the director. Director can act as a managing partner, officer, he can be called as employee, he can be called as agent, right? So that is nothing but the liability to the company. Next is civil or criminal liability. Civil and or criminal liability. So for both we are having some particular provisions. That is, if he is doing anything, any fraudulent thing, like fraudulently inducing persons to invest money, okay, or you can say failure to file return of the allotment. It is nothing but he's having lot of duties, right? If he is not complying with the duties like special duties or general duties, that is nothing but he is responsible for that. He shall be liable for that. Director shall be liable for not following the duties and not following the responsibilities. So for that he is having the penalty provisions. And see here, to lay the financial statements, it is his duty, right? But what if he is not laying the financial statements before AGM? He shall be punishable, he shall be liable for that. He should do. If he is not doing, he is liable for some penalty provisions. Okay. And next is to disclose the interest of the other companies. And what if he is not disclosing? He failed to disclose, or failure in the disclose of interest in other companies, again he is liable for that. So like that, whatever the whatever the responsibilities are there, whatever the duties are there, obligations are there for the director, if he is not performing those, then he or she shall be liable for that. That is nothing but civil or criminal liability. He is punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year, or you can say he shall be punishable with a fine like 50,000 to 5 lakhs. So these are nothing but the civil and criminal liabilities according to the things which is not followed by the director. Now the next topic is meetings. So with the previous topic we are done with the director part, director position, responsibilities, duties, provisions regarding, or important provisions regarding directors, we are done. So next chapter in this unit is meetings. Now let's understand the meaning of the meeting. A meeting is a gathering or assembly of two or more persons at a pre-decided date, time and place for transacting certain lawful business. So here you have to understand is what is the meaning of the meeting. Meeting is nothing but gathering or assembly of people or the persons. Okay, so meeting is nothing but a public gathering. Okay, why they are gathering? What is the reason? They are gathering for transacting certain lawful business. To transact means to deal with. How they can deal? They have to decide. They have to take some decisions. Okay, they have to decide. That is nothing but transacting certain lawful business. Whatever is lawful, they are discussing about that and they are dealing on that. Two or more persons at a pre-decided date, time and place. So for that meeting, to get the public gathering, they should have decided a particular date, time and place. That's why it is mentioned as pre-decided. They have to decide before only. They are not deciding before, how they can know about the date, time and place of the business or the place of the meeting? They cannot know, right? So that's why it should be pre-decided and informed to everyone, so that the gathering will gather together and there will be assembly of two or more persons, and so that they can transact their business ideas. So that is the meaning of the meeting. Now under that we are having the kinds of the meeting. What are the different kinds of the meeting in the companies? First is, under the first we are having meetings according to 3 heads. Can you observe here? Roman number 1 is the first head, second head and the third head. First head is meetings of the members and the shareholders. Under that we are having AGM, that is annual general meeting, EGM, that is extraordinary general meeting, and the last is class meetings of shareholders and the members. Second head covers under meeting of the directors, and the last other meetings, that is meeting of debenture holders, meeting of creditors, meeting of contributors. DH means debenture holders, SH means shareholders. Okay students, kindly remember these two terms. GM means general meeting. Next is requisites of a valid meeting. What do you mean by requisites? Requisites is nothing more which is required, which is essential to call it a meeting as a valid. So what should be required to have a valid meeting? First is should be conveyed by proper authority. Meeting has to be conducted or conveyed by the proper authority, then only it is having a meaning of valid. Okay, then only you can say it is a valid meeting, otherwise it is not a valid meeting without proper authority. Next is proper notice. Proper notice has to be given. I already told you right in the meaning, the notice of what date, time and place has to be given so that the people will gather together and they have the meeting. So that's why proper notice has to be given. Next is as per the agenda. The meeting has to go according to the agenda of the company. Now underline the important terms according to this prerequisites, that is notice, agenda, quorum, proceedings, resolutions, minutes. All these are very important, and based on this only we are going to discuss the other important topics in this chapter. Okay, so understand the agenda. As per the agenda, they have to follow the agenda, that is things to be done in the future. They have to make a note of all the list what they are going to do. Proper quorum. Quorum is nothing but I'll give a clear explanation of this in the next chapter. Next is proper resolution must be passed. Resolution also we are having a separate chapter. Next is minutes of the proceedings must be recorded. Minutes also. So all these underlined words I'll explain you in the next chapters. So here you should understand that all these are very required or essential things that give a meaning for the valid meeting. So if anything is missing, then you cannot say it is a valid meeting. If you are conducting a valid meeting, means the meeting should have all these things. It conducted by the proper authority, proper notice should be given, it should go as per the agenda, and proper quorum should be there, resolution should be passed, minutes of the proceeding should be recorded. So if this is done, then only it is a valid meeting. So the next topic is notice of the meeting. We are going with the underlined words. See, first is notice, agenda, quorum, right? So according to that only, that chronology we are following. Next is notice of meeting. So what do you mean by notice? Notice is given, information is given. So notice is nothing but it contains some official information so that everyone can know about that, everyone can aware about that. Okay, a notice will be given to the public interest. So under that we are having first head, that is contents of the notice. What should be there in the notice? Okay, how the notice can be prepared, we are going to discuss that. See the first one under the first head, under the contents. First is notice shall be in writing. Okay, so notice should be in writing only. In writing means it may be in the printed form or in writing. Okay, both can be encouraged, but it should not be as a recorded. Okay, if you are recording and telling, it is not a notice. So notice shall be in writing, in a written form. Next is it shall specify place or venue of the meeting. The second is the notice shall be in writing, right? In writing, what they have to specify first? They have to specify the place or the venue of the meeting, where they are going to conduct, in the office, in which block. Okay, all they have to mention. The place is very important in the notice. Next is the date of the meeting. On what date they are conducting. Now take a simple example. Suppose you are invited to a marriage. Okay, And take the example, the marriage invitation is a notice. What if in the notice the place and venue of the marriage is not given, and the date of the marriage is not given, day of the marriage is not given, time of the marriage is not given? What can you do? Can you go and attend the marriage? No, right? And what is the purpose of giving of that invitation? Is the purpose satisfied? No. What is the actual purpose of inviting for the marriage? To attend it. And how they can attend? If they know the place of the marriage, when they are conducting, where they are conducting, date, time, everything they must know. Then only there is a chance to attend for the marriage. Here also same. That's why the notice is very important. If the notice is given, if the date and place is decided in the given notice, and the time is given, you can say day of the meeting is given, everything, all this information is given, then only it is called as a notice. So it is very essential that a notice should conduct all these information. It is started with place and venue, date of the meeting, day of the meeting, and which day it is conducting. So in that we are having a special provision, that is, a meeting shall not be conducted on a national holiday. If it is a national holiday, on that day the meeting shall not be conducted. Okay. Next is the hour and time of the meeting. Our time has to be given, and in that the duration of the meeting has to be conducted in business hours only, that is 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. These are the business hours. So in that time period only it has to be conducted. It cannot be conducted after 6 p.m. or it cannot be conducted before 9 a.m. Okay, it should be in that duration only. Next is specify the nature of the meeting. Specify the nature of the meeting is nothing but nature of the meeting. Generally we are having special meetings and ordinary meetings. Okay, so like that, what type of meeting it is, they have to mention it is ordinary or the special. Okay, that has to be mentioned in the specification. Next is proxy, if any. Underline the word proxy, and nature also. These terms we are going to discuss. Okay, so proxy, if any proxy, that has to be mentioned in the notice. Coming to the second head under the notice of the meeting. First is we discuss the contents of the notice. Second is persons entitled to notice. Who has to give the notice? That has to be given. Next, mode of service of notice. Mode of service of notice is nothing but how the notice has to be passed, how the notice has to be given, served. Okay, that is, the first option is registered or speed post. Through registered post or speed post, it can served, that information can be passed regarding the meeting, the notice can be given. And the next is by hand. By hand means the person can go and meet and they can deliver. Okay, generally we can do this while inviting for the marriage. Yes or no? You have to go to your relative's house or friend's house, and you invite everyone in that house. Okay, every family member you will give, right? You will invite. So that is nothing but by hand. So for that member they are inviting for the meeting. Next is electronic mode. Electronic mode is nothing but through mails, fax, all these things. So these three are the modes of service of the notice: through registered post or speed post, by hand, or through electronic mode. And the last head is length period of the notice. Length period of the notice is nothing but when the notice has to be given, when it should be informed. That is, notice should be given at least 21 days before in advance of the meeting. So here day day 1. Okay, day 1 they are conducting the meeting means before 21 days before of this day 1, that notice has to be served. So take an example. Today is April 18. Okay, so I want to conduct meeting on May 5th. Okay, so May 5th I want to conduct a meeting and today is April 18. So how many days before I have to send the notice of the meeting? Before 21 days, which falls under May 5th. Okay. So at least on or before April 16 I should send the notice of the meeting, that the meeting is there on, the meeting is going to conduct on May 5th. That information has to be given on or before 16. Why on or before 16? Because if you count from May 5th, because for these 21 days, even the day when the meeting is going on can be counted. So May 5th, 5 days in the May month, and from 18 to 30, that is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 days. 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So all together called 21 days. Okay, so on or before 21 days it is okay. That's why it is mentioned at least, not exactly 21 days. Okay, at least 21 days before it has to be given, not after like you can say 10 days before or 15 days before. It should be 21 or more. Okay, on or before 16th April it has to be gone if they want to conduct on May 5th. So that is nothing but length or period of notice.